For 15 years, I believed my father died in a boating accident while I paid for his funeral and my mother collected his $2 million life insurance policy. Last Tuesday, my phone rang with his number, a number I'd kept active just to hear his old voicemail greeting when I missed him most. I'm Daniel Whitaker, and my hands still shake remembering what I heard next. Son, I'm alive, and you need to know the truth. Your mother tried to kill me. Don't trust her, Daniel. She's coming for you next. Every morning at 5:30, I'd wake to the same ritual, shower, shave, and stand at my bedroom window overlooking the Pacific. My father had taught me that successful men rise before the sun, a lesson I'd carried from our middle-class upbringing in Bakersfield to my oceanfront property in San Diego. At 38, I'd built Whitaker Architectural Solutions into a seven-figure business, designing sustainable corporate campuses across Southern California. Dad would have been proud if he'd lived to see it. My home office walls were lined with framed blueprints, my greatest achievements, but the most valuable item sat on my desk, Dad's worn, leather-bound sketchbook. Martin Whitaker had been a brilliant structural engineer who taught me everything about load-bearing calculations before I could drive. "Buildings stand on math, Danny," he'd say, "but they rise on imagination." I'd flip through those pages whenever I faced a design challenge, finding inspiration in his meticulous sketches and margin notes. On Sundays, I'd drive the 2 hours to visit Mom in her Malibu beach house, the one she'd bought after Dad's accident with the insurance money. Catherine Whitaker had transformed from the warm, flower-dusted mother of my childhood into a sleek socialite who hosted fundraisers and dated men 20 years her junior. I didn't judge. Grief changes people. She'd invite me for brunch, show off her latest renovations, and inevitably ask when I'd meet a nice girl and settle down. We were different people now, but she was all the family I had left. "You work too much, Danny," she said one Sunday in April, refilling my mimosa. "Just like your father. You know where that got him." She wore an expression I couldn't quite place, almost like satisfaction. My assistant, Jessica, had been flagging strange financial inquiries about my business. "Someone's been calling our bank trying to get information about your accounts," she told me one Monday. "They had enough personal details to almost convince the manager they were you." I filed a fraud alert, but thought little of it. Successful businesses attract attention, sometimes unwanted. Then came the dreams. Dad in the water, reaching up as waves crashed over him. But instead of drowning, in these nightmares, he was fighting someone off, someone pushing him down. I'd wake gasping, convinced I'd heard him calling my name. My therapist, Dr. Landon, said it was unresolved grief, 15 years festering beneath my carefully constructed life. "The anniversary's coming up," Dr. Landon reminded me during our monthly session. "How will you mark it this year?" The 15th anniversary of Dad's death fell on a perfect June day. I left flowers at his empty grave, his body never recovered from the Pacific, then drove to Mom's for our annual memorial dinner. She'd prepared Dad's favorites, ribeye steak, twice-baked potatoes, and apple pie. As always, she'd set 3 places at the table, the third remaining empty. "To Martin," Mom raised her wine glass, her diamond bracelet catching the light. "New jewelry," I noted absently. "To Dad," I echoed, studying her face. Something in her eyes seemed calculating as she watched me drink. Halfway through dinner, my vision blurred. The room tilted sideways. "Mom?" My tongue felt thick, uncooperative. "Oh, Danny," she sighed, voice suddenly distant. "You always were too much like him. I was hoping we wouldn't have to do this." I tried to stand, but my legs wouldn't cooperate. As I slumped forward, I glimpsed movement at the patio doors. A man entering, his face vaguely familiar. Mom's latest boyfriend? No, someone else. "Is he out?" The man's voice sounded underwater. "Give it another minute," Mom replied, calmly sipping her wine. Then called Gerald. "Tell him to bring the boat around." Boat. The word triggered something. Dad, water, drowning. I fought the darkness closing in, fumbling for my phone. My thumb found the emergency call button as I slid beneath the table. The last thing I heard was Mom's annoyed voice. Check his pockets, take his phone. Then, nothing. I woke to cold water splashing my face. Night sky above, boat engine rumbling below. Zip ties cut into my wrists and ankles. The same man from Mom's house stood over me, while another steered the boat, a sleek fishing vessel cutting through black water. He's awake, the man called. We're far enough out, Gerald. Mom appeared, her cream dinner dress exchanged for black pants and a windbreaker. I'm sorry it came to this, Danny. You should have been easier to manage. Mom, what's happening? My voice cracked, mouth desert dry. Life insurance fraud investigation, she said simply. They're looking into your father's policy. Someone's asking questions about the accident. I can't have you involved when they come knocking. Dad's accident? Something clicked in my drugged brain. What did you do to him? Her smile chilled me more than the night air. The same thing that's about to happen to you. A tragic accident. Like father, like son. You killed him. The words fell like stones. Technically, the ocean killed him, she corrected. Just like it's about to kill you. She nodded to the men. Make it look good. The authorities need to find him eventually. We need the death certificate for the insurance payout. As they lifted me toward the railing, survival instinct kicked through the drug haze. I thrashed, catching Gerald with my bound feet. He stumbled, cursing. In the confusion, I rolled, smashing into the other man's knees. Both of us crashed into a storage compartment. Something sharp sliced my arm, a fishing knife that had fallen from a hook. I twisted, sawing my zip ties against the blade while pretending to struggle. Hold him down, Mom shouted, reaching for something in her jacket, a syringe. The moment my hands came free, I grabbed the knife and swung wild. The men jumped back. I slashed the ties on my ankles, blood mixing with seawater on the deck. Just like your father, always fighting the inevitable, Mom sighed, uncapping the syringe. This would have been painless, Danny. Now it won't be. I lunged past her, knife still clutched in my bleeding hand, and dove into the black Pacific. The last thing I heard was her scream of frustration as cold water closed over my head, and I swam desperately into darkness, away from the boat's lights, away from the woman who had already killed once. I swam until my arms burned and my lungs screamed, afraid to surface in case they were searching with spotlights. When I finally came up for air, the boat's running lights were distant specks on the horizon. Hypothermia would kill me within hours if I didn't find land. The coast was a faint line of lights impossibly far away. By dawn, I'd been in the water for 6 hours, drifting in and out of consciousness, kept afloat by sheer survival instinct. A fishing boat spotted me just after sunrise. The shocked crew pulled my blue-lipped, shivering body aboard, assuming I was a drunk who'd fallen overboard during a party cruise. I couldn't tell them the truth. Who would believe my mother had tried to murder me? At the hospital, I gave a false name. If Mom thought I was dead, that was my only advantage. The attending physician diagnosed me with hypothermia, exhaustion, and a deep knife wound requiring 27 stitches. When the police came asking questions, I claimed amnesia. The moment they left, I discharged myself against medical advice. With nothing but hospital scrubs and a borrowed phone, I called the one person who wouldn't ask too many questions, Jessica, my assistant. I need cash, clothes, and a place to stay, I told her. Don't tell anyone I contacted you. It's life or death. 2 hours later, I was in Jessica's apartment, downing coffee and antibiotics. I explained enough for her to understand the gravity without endangering her. She loaned me $1,200, her entire emergency fund, and her ex-boyfriend's clothes. I couldn't go home. Mom would look there first once she realized I hadn't drowned. I couldn't access my bank accounts or credit cards without leaving a digital trail. My business, my home, my car, all compromised. Your mother cleaned out the company accounts this morning, Jessica informed me, showing me alerts on her phone. She had co-signing authority from when she helped you start the business. $347,892 gone. Within 48 hours, my credit cards were maxed out on purchases I hadn't made. My Range Rover was reported stolen. Someone, Mom's boyfriend Gerald, was photographed using my ID at the airport buying tickets to Mexico. They were framing me, making it look like I'd embezzled from my own company and fled the country. By week's end, my clients received emails, supposedly from me, announcing my immediate retirement and recommending a competitor. Projects worth $1.2 million transferred overnight. My reputation, built over 16 years, evaporated in days. I dyed my hair, grew a beard, and moved to a motel in East Los Angeles, paying weekly in cash. Jessica smuggled my backup laptop from the office, but most files were gone. Financial records deleted, designs corrupted. Mom had been planning this for months, maybe years. "The police came to the office," Jessica texted. "They're investigating fraud charges against you. Your mother filed a report claiming you stole her jewelry and threatened her before disappearing. My childhood home in Bakersfield, the only property still in my name, was suddenly in foreclosure. Mom had somehow taken out loans against it, defaulted deliberately. I watched online as it sold at auction for a fraction of its worth. The baseball cards, Dad's old tools, family photos, all gone. 3 weeks after my drowning, I stood across the street from my office building, watching strangers carry out my drafting tables and awards. A for lease sign already hung in the window. 15 years of work erased. I had $83 left in my pocket. I found work at a construction site that paid cash daily, $110 for backbreaking labor. The foreman, Mike, didn't care that my hands were architect's hands, not built for pouring concrete. "Everyone's running from something," he shrugged when I flinched at giving my name. At night, I slept in a homeless shelter in Skid Row, clutching my backpack containing my only possessions, a burner phone, Jessica's laptop, and Dad's sketchbook, the one thing I'd grabbed from my apartment during a risky 4 a.m. visit. The other men in the shelter had their stories. Vietnam veterans, former executives destroyed by addiction, men broken by tragedy. None would have believed mine. In the shelter, I met Raymond, a former accountant who'd lost everything to gambling. He recognized something in me, the look of a man who'd fallen from heights, not someone born to hardship. "First month's the hardest," he told me, sharing his carefully hoarded hand sanitizer. "Second month, you start forgetting what clean sheets feel like. Third month, you're one of us." Raymond taught me shelter politics, which shower stall had the best water pressure, which staff members would look the other way if you stayed past checkout time, which other residents would steal your shoes while you slept. On a rain-soaked Sunday 6 weeks after my death, I stood across from Mom's Malibu house, watching through binoculars as she hosted a cocktail party. Through the windows, I could see her laughing, radiant in a black dress, Gerald's arm around her waist. On the mantel where Dad's photo once stood, I glimpsed mine, surrounded by funeral flowers. She was playing the grieving mother, collecting sympathy, and, I suspected, filing for my life insurance. "She killed both of us," I whispered, rain streaming down my face, indistinguishable from tears. That night in the shelter, someone stole my backpack while I used the bathroom. I lost the laptop, my last $40, even my toothbrush. But the thief had overlooked Dad's sketchbook, which I tucked inside my jacket. Clutching it, I rocked on my thin mattress, closer to breaking than I'd been in the frigid Pacific. "Sometimes, you gotta hit bottom before you can push up," Raymond said, offering me half his sandwich. "Rock bottom's where you find out what you're made of." I looked at this stranger showing me more kindness than my own mother ever had. "What if what I find isn't enough?" I asked. "Then you borrow somebody else's strength till yours grows back." He smiled, revealing missing teeth. "That's what humans do. We fall together, we rise together." If you're touched by this story, please like and subscribe to the channel. In the comments, share, have you ever experienced betrayal or injustice? Let's create a supportive community. On my 50th night of homelessness, a stranger in an expensive suit entered the shelter during dinner service. Unlike the usual social workers, he wore a Rolex and carried a leather briefcase that looked worth more than everything in the building combined. If you're touched by this story, please like and subscribe to the channel. In the comments, share, have you ever experienced betrayal or injustice? Let's create a supportive community. He spoke quietly to the staff, then scanned the room until his eyes locked on me. "Mr. Whitaker?" he asked, approaching my table. Raymond tensed beside me, protective. My heart hammered. If he knew my name, Mom might have sent him. "Who's asking?" "James Blackstone, private investigator." He placed a business card on the table, heavy cardstock, embossed lettering. "I've been looking for you for 3 weeks. Someone very interested in finding you hired me." "My mother?" I stood, ready to run. "No." He opened his briefcase and removed a sealed envelope. "Your father." The world tilted sideways. "My father is dead." "Is he?" Blackstone's expression remained neutral. "Martin Edward Whitaker, born September 4, 1955 in Fresno, California. Structural engineer, presumed drowned June 12, 2010, near Catalina Island. Never found a body, did they?" My hands trembled as I took the envelope. Inside was a single photograph, recent, time-stamped 2 months ago. A man with silver hair and a beard, thinner but unmistakable, sitting in a wheelchair on a covered porch. My father. "This is impossible," I whispered, throat constricting. "He said you'd say that." Blackstone handed me a prepaid cell phone. "He wants to talk to you directly. The number's programmed in. I'll give you privacy." In the shelter's empty chapel, I pressed call with shaking fingers. 1 ring, 2, then, "Danny?" The voice I'd heard only in dreams for 15 years. Older, raspier, but unmistakably him. "Dad?" I choked on the word. "It's me, son. I'm so sorry. I never wanted you to think I was dead." She gave me no choice. "What happened?" I slid to the floor, knees too weak to hold me. "The boating accident wasn't an accident. Catherine hired men to kill me, the same ones who tried to kill you. I fought back, got thrown overboard, but I was miles from shore with a concussion and stab wound. I should have died." "How did you survive?" "Mexican fishing trawler found me clinging to debris, barely alive. By the time I regained consciousness, we docked in Ensenada. I had no ID, no money, no way to prove who I was, and I realized if I came back, she'd finish the job, maybe hurt you too." "But the life insurance?" "Catherine had taken out a policy without my knowledge, naming herself beneficiary. When I died, she collected. I couldn't return without endangering us both, so I stayed in Mexico, working construction jobs for cash while watching her from afar, waiting for the right moment." "Why contact me now, after 15 years? A heavy sigh. "Because she's doing it again, son. Last year, she took out a $3 million policy on you. I have proof. When I saw the pattern repeating, I hired Blackstone to warn you, but by then, you'd already disappeared." My mind reeled, pieces clicking into horrible place. "She thinks I'm dead." "Yes, and she's already filed a claim. But the insurance company is investigating. Too many similarities to my case. They're not paying out yet." "I can't believe this is real," I whispered. "How do I know you're actually alive, that this isn't some cruel trick?" "Page 43 of my sketchbook," he replied. "The support beam calculations for the Bakersfield Community Center. I made a deliberate error in the public plans, but corrected it in my private notes. Only you and I would know that." With trembling hands, I opened the sketchbook to page 43. There it was, the notated correction for a support beam, showing a 2.7% increase in load capacity that never appeared in the final blueprints. A private joke between father and son, our secret safety margin. "It's really you," I whispered, tears flowing freely. "I've been watching Catherine for years. I have documents, recordings, bank transfers, evidence of what she did to me and what she's trying to do to you. But I needed you alive and safe first. Blackstone returned with a leather portfolio. Your father compiled this over 14 years. Birth certificates, property deeds, insurance policies, offshore account numbers, recorded conversations, everything to prove your mother's crimes and reclaim what's yours. I opened it to find meticulous documentation. Photos of Mom meeting with the men who tried to kill me, bank transfers to offshore accounts, life insurance policies taken out weeks before both accidents, even a recording of Mom discussing my drowning with Gerald. There's $4. $2 million in a Cayman account, Dad explained through the phone. I've been tracking Catherine's finances, documenting every dollar she stole from us. The house in Malibu, your company assets, everything she took using our names. It's all recorded. What do you want me to do? I asked, overwhelmed. Come to me in Arizona. I have a safe place, a small ranch outside Sedona. From there, we take everything to the FBI. Insurance fraud crosses state lines. It's federal. But you need to disappear completely first. If Catherine discovers you're alive before we're ready, she'll come after both of us again. Why not go to the authorities now? Because she has connections in the California Police Department. Gerald's brother is a detective in the fraud division. We need federal involvement and ironclad evidence. We get one shot at this, Danny. Blackstone laid out a comprehensive plan. A new identity, secure transport to Arizona, and a timeline for building our case with federal authorities. Your father has been planning this for years, Blackstone explained, waiting for the right moment, gathering evidence, building relationships with the right law enforcement contacts. Everything is in place. We just needed you. I looked at Raymond, who had watched silently from the doorway. You knew, I realized. You're part of this. Raymond smiled. Former FBI forensic accountant, not a gambling addict. James hired me to find you, keep you safe until he arrived. Your father's been protecting you through proxies for years. The weight of 15 years lifted from my shoulders. I wasn't alone. I wasn't crazy. And my father was alive. When do we leave? I asked. Now, Blackstone answered, your new life begins tonight. If this story has touched your heart, please share it with someone who needs to believe that life can turn around in unexpected ways. 3 months later, I stood in FBI Special Agent Lowell's office in Phoenix, watching the final pieces of our case come together. The wall displayed photos of Mom, Gerald, the boat captain, and 3 other accomplices, her network of fraud and murder. Insurance companies don't like paying out millions for suspicious deaths, Agent Lowell explained, tapping a file folder. Your mother made a critical mistake with your policy. She used the same insurance broker who handled your father's policy. When both her husband and son drowned in similar accidents, it raised serious red flags. Dad sat nearby in his wheelchair, the legacy of his injuries 15 years ago. The Mexican fisherman had saved his life, but not before hypoxia damaged his spine. He'd never walk normally again. Catherine grew careless, Dad observed. She thought she'd gotten away with it once, so why not again? Classic narcissist behavior. I'd spent these months at Dad's Sedona ranch, reconnecting with the father I thought was dead while preparing for today. We'd assembled financial records, sworn statements, and DNA evidence proving our identities. Dad's meticulous documentation provided the backbone for the federal case. We're ready, Agent Lowell announced. The arrest warrants are signed. The California team moves in 1 hour. I want to be there, I insisted. I want her to see my face. Lowell hesitated. It's not standard procedure. My son deserves this, Dad interrupted. We both do. 3 hours later, I sat in an unmarked FBI vehicle outside Mom's Malibu home, wearing a bulletproof vest beneath my jacket. Through binoculars, I watched FBI agents approach the front door while others secured the perimeter. Mom answered wearing tennis whites, champagne in hand. Her smile vanished as Agent Lowell showed her badge. When they placed her in handcuffs, Mom's composure cracked. She screamed accusations, threatened lawsuits. Only when they led her toward the waiting cars did I step from the shadows. Her eyes widened in pure shock, champagne flute shattering on the driveway. "Daniel," she gasped, "you're—" "Alive," I finished, "just like Dad." The color drained from her face as Dad rolled his wheelchair into view, flanked by agents. "Hello, Catherine," he said quietly. "It's been 15 years. "This is impossible," she whispered. "You're dead. You both are dead." "Yet here we stand," I replied, "while you're the one in handcuffs." She lunged toward me, handcuffs rattling. "They'll never believe you. I have friends in law enforcement. Gerald's brother—" "Is also under arrest," Agent Lowell interrupted, "along with Gerald, the boat captain, and your insurance broker. The whole network." Mom's eyes darted between us, calculating even now. "Danny, sweetie, there's been a terrible misunderstanding. I can explain everything." "Save it for your arraignment," I said. "The evidence speaks for itself." As they placed her in the vehicle, she locked eyes with me one final time. "I gave you life," she hissed. "I can take it away." "You already tried," I answered calmly. "Twice. Game over, Mom." The news broke nationwide the next day. Architect returns from the dead to expose mother's murder for insurance plot. The story was sensational. A presumed dead father and son reuniting to bring down a Black Widow killer who had collected millions in fraudulent claims. Within weeks, the dominoes fell. Mom's accomplices turned on each other, accepting plea deals in exchange for testimony. The insurance broker revealed 7 other suspicious policies she'd arranged for Catherine over the years, potential victims who had narrowly escaped her plots. The DA charged her with first-degree attempted murder, mine, second-degree murder, the actual drowning of her boat captain from the first attempt when he became a liability, fraud, money laundering, and conspiracy. Facing multiple life sentences, Mom finally broke, accepting a plea deal. 40 years without parole. I visited her once in prison. She sat across from me, orange jumpsuit replacing designer clothes, makeup-free face showing every one of her 62 years. "Why?" I asked simply. "We had enough money. Dad loved you. I loved you." She studied me with cold eyes. "Your father was going to leave me for his assistant. I saw the texts, the hotel receipts. He would have taken everything." "So you tried to kill him rather than divorce him?" "The insurance paid better than alimony," she shrugged. "And you were getting too close to the truth, always asking questions about the accident, keeping his things, that stupid sketchbook." I stood to leave. "Goodbye, Catherine." "I'm still your mother," she snapped. "No," I replied. "My mother died 15 years ago. She just didn't know it yet." With the criminal case concluded, we began reclaiming what was stolen. The insurance companies reversed the fraudulent payouts, freezing Mom's assets. My business reputation was officially cleared, with news outlets publishing the truth about my disappearance. Former clients reached out, offering to restart projects. Dad and I filed lawsuits against Mom's estate, the corrupt detective who had helped cover up her crimes, and the banks that had facilitated the fraud. Most settled quickly to avoid publicity. Within 6 months, we recovered $5.7 million. Not everything she'd stolen, but enough. I reopened my firm under a new name, Whitaker & Whitaker Architectural Solutions. Dad joined as a consultant, his engineering mind still sharp despite his physical limitations. Our first project, designing a wheelchair-accessible community center in Bakersfield, on the site of our old family home. "Full circle," Dad observed as we broke ground, the construction crew, including Mike from my homeless days, preparing the foundation. Jessica came on as operations director, her loyalty rewarded with partnership shares. Raymond consulted on our financial security, his FBI connections proving invaluable as we rebuilt. On the one-year anniversary of my resurrection, I visited the homeless shelter that had been my refuge. With a check for $250,000, I established a job training program for residents, focusing on construction and design skills. Sometimes you need someone to believe in you before you can believe in yourself, I told the shelter director, thinking of Raymond's kindness during my darkest days. I'm just passing on what was given to me. As we left, Dad squeezed my shoulder. Your mother took 15 years from us, he said quietly, but she doesn't get to take one more day. 3 years after Mom's conviction, I stand at the window of our San Diego office, watching sunlight glint off the Pacific. The same ocean that nearly claimed both our lives now represents something different. The vastness of possibility, the depth of resilience. Dad has settled into his role as senior consultant, his wheelchair now customized with architectural drafting tools. At 70, he works 3 days a week, mentoring young engineers while spending his free time building intricate wooden sailboat models, finding peace in crafting vessels that navigate the very element that almost destroyed him. Whitaker & Whitaker has grown to 37 employees across 3 states. Our signature sustainable design approach has won national recognition, including Architectural Digest's Firm of the Year. The community center in Bakersfield, built where our family home once stood, received humanitarian design awards for its accessibility innovations. Mom remains in California Women's Facility, serving her sentence without the possibility of parole until she's 102. She writes occasionally, letters filled with justifications and subtle manipulations that go unanswered. The prison psychiatrist diagnosed her with malignant narcissism and antisocial personality disorder. Sometimes I wonder if understanding her condition should make forgiveness easier. It doesn't. Gerald received 20 years for his role in both murder attempts. The corrupt detective, stripped of his badge, serves 15. The boat captain from my accident turned state's evidence and got 7 years. Justice, imperfect but substantial. Raymond formally joined our firm as chief financial officer after retiring from his FBI consultancy. His expertise protected us from the financial vulnerabilities that Mom had once exploited. More importantly, his friendship during my shelter days taught me that family isn't always blood. Jessica married last spring in a ceremony on the grounds of our Sedona ranch. Dad gave her away, navigating his wheelchair down the aisle with practiced dignity. When she announced her pregnancy last month, Dad wept, a chance at the grandfather role he thought he'd never live to experience. I've dated occasionally, but remain single. Trust comes harder now. Dr. Landon, the same therapist I saw before everything fell apart, says I'm not broken, just appropriately cautious. Some wounds change us permanently, she explains, but change isn't damage. The $8.4 million we ultimately recovered from Mom's fraud went partly to rebuilding our business, but the majority funded the Whitaker Foundation, supporting organizations that help victims of domestic violence and financial abuse. We've assisted 212 survivors in establishing new identities, finding safe housing, and rebuilding their careers. Each success story helps heal something in us, too. Mike, the construction foreman who hired me when I had nothing, now oversees all our building projects. He still doesn't tolerate excuses, but his crews receive full benefits and profit sharing, unheard of in the industry. You remember what it's like at the bottom, he told me once. That's why you build differently. I've learned that betrayal by a parent creates a unique kind of wound. It undermines your very foundation, makes you question not just trust, but your own judgment, your own worth. For years, I blamed myself for not seeing Mom's true nature, for not questioning the circumstances of Dad's death. Now I understand that love creates blind spots. The people closest to us exist in our peripheral vision, where danger is hardest to detect. Dad struggled with this reality too. I chose her, he confessed during a late-night conversation. I brought her into our lives, missed every sign. That's my burden to carry. You couldn't have known, I assured him. Neither could you, he replied.
the absolution we both needed to hear. Last month, I revisited the shelter where I had spent those desperate weeks. Several residents recognized me from news stories, but one old-timer remembered me from before, when I was just another broken man clutching a sketchbook like a life preserver. "You still got that book?" he asked. I showed him Dad's sketchbook, now preserved in a custom archival case, but still carried everywhere. "It saved my life," I explained, "twice." "Ain't about the book," he said, tapping his temple. "It's about what you knew was in it, what nobody could take away." His words crystallized something I'd been learning through all of this. Resilience isn't about avoiding falls. It's about preserving what matters through the impact. Dad and I lost 15 years, but we protected what was essential: our connection, our integrity, our capacity to build something meaningful from ruins. The most profound change in me isn't the wariness, though that remains, but the clarity about what constitutes real wealth. Not the oceanfront property I've rebuilt or the company's success, but the moments when Dad and I share coffee at sunrise, discussing projects, or simply watching gulls wheel above the waves. The wealth is time. Time we nearly lost forever. Time we now refuse to waste. Sometimes, when I visit construction sites, workers ask about the story. It's become something of an urban legend in the industry. I keep my answers brief. The public version satisfies curiosity, but the private truth belongs only to those who lived it. Some experiences can be shared, but never truly understood from the outside. Dad keeps a small plaque on his desk. The architect's greatest skill is seeing what isn't there yet. It's a professional maxim that became our personal philosophy. When everything was taken, we had to envision a future that didn't exist, then build toward it one painful step at a time. Today, I return to the spot where I nearly drowned, my first time back since that night. Standing on the shore, I watched the endless rhythm of waves. The same waters that nearly claimed me, now just part of the landscape, neither enemy nor friend. I took Dad's sketchbook from my bag and turned to a blank page near the end, the first time I'd added anything to his work. I sketched the horizon line, the meeting of sea and sky, and wrote beneath it, "The end of one story is the foundation of another." That's what survivors understand. Every ending creates space for something new to be built. The blueprint may change, the materials may not be what you expected, but the essential work of creating meaning continues. Dad and I lost years, but we found each other. We lost certainty, but gained wisdom. We lost blind trust, but found authentic connection. If there's one truth I've learned from all of this, it's that the greatest structures, in buildings and in lives, are those that can withstand the unexpected storm, bend without breaking, and remain standing when the waters recede. If this story touched your soul, if you believe justice exists and that we can rise from the ashes, please like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. In the comments, share your own story of overcoming adversity. Let's support each other. Share this video with someone going through a difficult time. Remember, your story isn't finished yet, and the best chapters may be coming. 2 incredible stories are appearing on screen now. Choose one to continue this journey of hope. Until next time, and may you find your own victorious turning point. God bless you.